Hey guys, welcome to the show. I don't know if it can get any worse for Donald Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is having a really rough, bad week. I don't know if you're aware, but there's been at least four. There's disasters everywhere. There's bad news, like, from coast to coast, north to south. It doesn't matter. Every single place, every single corner, every single angle, wherever you look, there is a disaster going on right now in the country. But I don't know, in the last day or so, we've had at least four developments totally crushing Donald Trump. So let me tell you about that. First of all, right now, you know that they indicted Letitia James. Then they indicted James Comey. Both cases were dismissed because Lindsay Halligan, the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, she was named illegally. I'm not going to get into that. I explained that in other episodes. But anyway, she was appointed illegally. Therefore, the judge dismissed the cases, James Comey case and Letitia James case. Now, it happens that they went to a first grand jury, and the grand jury declined to vote to re-indict her. So that was a second failure. They failed indicting her. It got dismissed. They now impaneled a grand jury. The grand jury said, no, we're not doing it. They went for a second grand jury right now. In this week, just like yesterday, they reported that the grand jury, a second grand jury voted no. They said, we're not indicting Letitia James. You guys don't have enough evidence. I'm not going to get into that case right now, but Letitia James's case is also a disaster. They mismanaged that case, and now they have also, going against them that Fannie Mae, you must know about Fannie Mae, this organization that deals with the mortgage market, and they'll help, to make sure that we have liquidity and that mortgages moves from the originator to the, to the final company which is going to buy it, so that's what happens. But anyway, the thing is that Fannie Mae conducted its own independent investigation. Once this whole thing started sounding, they started sounding the alarm because they were investigating Letitia. Fannie Mae conducted its own investigation, and they concluded there was no fraud. So, they have now the original prosecutor, who Trump now calls a traitor, a rhino, and that guy, Eric Siebert, a Republican, a career Republican, he declined. He said they could not indict. He was not going to do it. He's like, don't count on me to indict James Comey or Letitia James. We don't have enough proof or evidence. Donald Trump fired him, and then he appointed Lindsay Halligan. So, I'm telling you, even if this made it to, to court, even if this case, they were able to re-indict Letitia James, imagine a third grand jury now trying to listen to this whole thing, to the whole story, and learning that the original prosecutor didn't want to prosecute, that Donald Trump fired him, and then he appointed an illegal personal lawyer as the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, and then she also mismanaged the whole case, the whole process, the indictments. There's so many errors, both in the James Comey case and Letitia James's case. But anyway, and then a first grand jury declined to re-indict her. And then now a second grand jury declined again to re-indict her the second time. And then now, they finally maybe make it, it's going to look super bad. Obviously, then you pair that with Donald Trump's statement on Truth Social, pretty much going off on Pam Bondi, getting onto her like, what are you doing? There's a lot of blah, blah, blah. You see, you're doing this media tour all over the, the networks and the channels. A lot of blah, 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 but no action. Nothing is being done. These people are criminals. I know it. They indicted me 5 times. Well, it's literally a shit show because, there's no way that you can't say that Pam Bondi did what she did because of Donald Trump's pressure. When we know that we used to have an independence between the executive and in this case, I should say the White House, and the Department of Justice, and even the FBI, because you want the justice, especially there's certain things, like the Fed. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about, independence or optics or ethics or, being politically correct. Donald Trump doesn't know what that is. He knows that he wants to, use his power and his influence. So the reality is that we used to have that kind of independence. Remember when Bill Clinton met, once he left office, he met with this lady Lynch, that she was the attorney general, and they met at an airport, and then they went into a plane together, and they spent like 29 minutes together. And I believe around that time, Hillary Clinton's emails was still, kind of in the works. The investigation was going on still, and Republicans went bonkers. They went crazy. This was like nonstop. It was the end of the world. We never heard the end of it. Around that time, we never heard the end of it. It was like so improper. How stupid can you be? You're the ex-president, but still, your wife is being investigated. How do you're not thinking that this is going to look bad for the country? They're going to think that you are actually trying to influence the direction of the Department of Justice and which investigation they should, go for or drop. Guys, it was like nonstop. But now you have Donald Trump literally holding press conferences in the Department of Justice, standing next to Pam Bondi, and then showing her documents like, hey, this is the list. These are the people that I want you to go and indict and investigate because they are my political enemies. We have to go and, process and investigate and indict the enemy from within. Anyway, all of that. So it looks vindictive, and I don't think this is going anywhere. It's not, of course, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a prosecutor, but I'm not stupid either, and I can see the whole process. They say that normally the best way to predict future behavior is, thinking of past behavior. And so far, what we are seeing in terms of how this case actually came about, let me tell you this story. During the initial trials for James Comey, and not trials, the initial court hearings, both for James Comey and Letitia James, at some point, one of the judges told the Department of Justice lawyers, I'm concerned about something here with you guys. And this is it. So when it comes to, the Justice Department and the law and court cases and accusations and all of this, normally you start with a crime. You start with a crime and you start working your way backwards to find all the evidence, and that's going to lead you to, whoever is the guilty person, right? You find the criminal. You first start with the crime. You work your way backwards. You kind of like reverse engineer it, right? And now the evidence is going to lead you to a criminal, to a guilty person. But he told them that what concerns me here is that I'm seeing a pattern with you guys, which is that you guys are starting with an actual name. Okay, you're starting with a name and you call that person a criminal, and then you're trying to work your way backwards, to find the crime. So it's kind of like a fishing expedition. Literally, this is literally a witch hunt. What Donald Trump is always claiming he's a victim of, right? He's a victim of a witch hunt, But the reality is that this is what a judge told them in the James Comey and Letitia James cases. One of them, it was two judges looking at these cases at some point, and that's what he said. And that's the reality. When you have Kash Patel coming in, with a book, Kash Patel wrote a book, and he has a book, and that book, I think it's in the appendix. There's a list of like over 100 names or so of political enemies, people that they wanted to, somehow were people of interest. Kind of the same thing that Charlie Kirk would do, back in the day. Before the tragedy, obviously, Charlie Kirk had a whole list of like teachers to kind of keep on the radar, and these teachers that supposedly was these are like liberals, communists, Marxists, whatever, people that want to brainwash our college students or whatever. They would dox these people. So it was the name, and then they would figure out who these teachers were, and then they would flood the emails, personal emails, college emails with all sorts of threats, insults, a lot of persecution. They would make their lives miserable, trying to get these people to feel afraid to quit, to stop doing what they were doing, which is obviously, this is what they like to do. They're, I never see this on the left. You say what you will, say what you want. I never see the left, like progressive, doing the same thing that, the right and especially MAGA. I'm not going to say Republicans, but not all Republicans are the same. But MAGA Republicans, these are obviously, most of them, part of a cult. It's a destructive cult. Actually, I normally kept, this book on my show when I'm, doing the live stream in the horizontal landscape format. The Cult of Trump. This is by Dr. Stephen Hassan. Dr. Stephen Hassan is one of the leading cult experts in the world. He used to be part of the Moonies cult, and he was one of the few who got lucky enough to be able to get out. And he wrote it, and now he's a doctor. He's a psychologist. He's a doctor. He's an expert, because obviously this is what he came from. And he wrote a book. It's called The Cult of Trump. And he explains in this book here, he explains how Donald Trump is using the same tactics of mass and manipulation, psychological manipulation that religious leaders, especially cult leaders, destructive leaders use, unfortunately. But anyway, that's going really bad. So that's one of the first things that went absolutely wrong for them. Now they had a second grand jury in a row, in a matter of like 3 or 4 days, separations, vote against indicting Letitia James for a second time. Aside from Letitia James's case, we also have now that a separate judge in a separate case just ordered Abrego Garcia released from DHS custody. Remember, they brought him back after they claimed they couldn't bring him back. They brought him back finally to indict him on trafficking charges. They told the judge that he could not be, released on bond because he was a danger to society. They failed to provide, proof. And the judge told them, you haven't met, the burden of proof. So there's no way that I'm going to hold this guy, here in the prison system, or allow you to keep him in custody, not DHS, but the prison system. Keep him in custody when you haven't proven that this guy is a criminal, or he's a gang member, or a terrorist, or, a danger to society, let alone like a danger to society. None of those you have been able to prove. So he let him go, and they say, fine, let him go. As soon as you let him go, we're going to take him into DHS custody so that we can deport him to Libya. Now they wanted to deport him to Libya. They gave him 2 options. Well, if you plead guilty, we'll send you to Costa Rica. Costa Rica, he said he would want to go to Costa Rica if there was no way for him to stay here. But they said, we're giving you 2 options. You can go to Costa Rica, but you have to plead guilty. And he pled not guilty. They're like, okay, so now that's not an option. Now we're going to deport you once they release you from the prison custody. Now what we're going to do is deport you to Libya. This is all about being petty and vindictive. It's like he's the poster, child. He's the face of resistance of all the things that are wrong right now with ICE and the Trump administration, and how they're violating the Constitution and due process and everything, and they don't give a shit about immigration law, and they claim they want people to do things the right way and legally, but they don't give a shit because he was in the process. He had cases, pending cases. There was a case from like 2019, an order from a judge saying that he could not be deported. And even when a judge ordered for the planes not to take off, Kristi Noem still ordered the planes to leave. Now she actually put as a sworn declaration, she gave them to the court because the Judge Bolsberg is conducting a criminal contempt of court investigation. And he asked Kristi Noem and the whole chain of people who have worked on this case to put all these declarations on sworn affidavits. And now Kristi Noem is the one apparently taking responsibility for the flights thing. So I'm not sure. Maybe Donald Trump already told her, don't worry, I'll pardon you if anything goes wrong. But the reality is that things are going really, really, really wrong, for them. And now the thing is that they took him. So the judge said, I'm not going to keep him in custody, in prison, because you brought him back to indict him on criminal charges. But there's no proof. You haven't proved that beyond any reasonable doubt at all. Not even to just keep him in custody for now. So he released him, and just like they said they would do, like within a day or two, ICE picked him up. DHS picked him up, and now he's been in DHS custody for now a couple of months. But finally, now they had another development in the case. The update right now is that the judge finally ordered DHS to release Abrego Garcia. It's like you have to let him go. It's been 9 months, and you guys haven't proven shit. These people are great. They're great. When it comes to narratives, there's nobody that does it better than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, fucking amazing when it comes to narratives. Remember, 62 cases. He filed 62 cases all over the nation claiming the election was stolen, even though DHS, CISA, the Department of Justice, and even the FBI, his 4 agencies under his own government with his own, appointed people. Everybody told him, you lost. The White House counsel told him, you lost. The RNC lawyers, everybody told him, you lost. He knew it. He always knew he had, lost. He didn't care. He wanted, he had plan A. Plan A was John Eastman's PowerPoint with the whole novel, legal, cuckoo theory that they could change the Constitution, and Mike Pence could all of a sudden claim that he could change the electors and stop the Biden certification and then just change the electors so that he could claim that somehow Trump was the winner of an election he lost by a lot, by 7 million votes. A mandate, a massive mandate. But anyway, the thing is that once Plan A failed, which was Mike Pence, and they tried to break Mike Pence, that was the whole point of, having this plan in the first place. But Mike Pence had told him in advance that he was not going to do it. Donald Trump was on the phone with him. I believe it was either that same morning of, January 6th or the day before. And they had this whole argument. Go and check Mike Pence's, videos on this. He has talked extensively on this topic, saying that unfortunately, he had this whole argument and he told the president, I'm not going to do it. We don't have the constitutional authority to do that. And I'm not putting anyone above the Constitution. And he did what he did. He did the right thing, even though he was a coward for most of the time. At least when it mattered most, he finally grew a spine and some balls and did the right thing and refused to change, the electors. And then these electors also pled guilty, and Trump's lawyers pled guilty to the whole scheme of the fraud. But once that failed, the only additional option was just to, promote the insurrection, incite people to go, the mob and to storm the Capitol and somehow violently intimidate Mike Pence, or even just disrupt the whole process so that it couldn't happen. Because if it didn't, happen, then Donald Trump could, somehow invoke the, insurrection law or something, a martial law, whatever. They had a plan. It failed. It failed miserably. And, the thing with that is that you can see how, Donald Trump has been struggling. And right now you can see all these things kind of like falling apart for him when it comes to the Abrego Garcia, case. And right now we saw the Letitia James case. There's so much going on that I'm telling you that it's just shameful. But then that's not the only news. We also have another one aside from the Abrego Garcia case. Now, then a third judge yesterday ordered these people, the Trump administration, you have to give National Guard control back to Gavin Newsom. It's time. It's enough. It's been months. You had at some point even like 4,000 guards there, and they were using like 4,000. And then now they're down to around 300, but still, they still have around 300. And they've tried to use those to send them to Portland and other places. And the thing is that every single judge so far, in every single case at a lower court or an appeals court, every judge has told them the same thing. You are using the National Guard illegally. You brought the Marines to Los Angeles illegally. You're doing the same thing in Portland and Chicago. In Chicago, they had a judge. Tell them at some point, she told the Department of Justice lawyers, she told them something like, do you guys, you guys are telling me that we have a war zone here in Chicago, right? Like things are out of control. There's a rebellion. There's an invasion. Local authorities can't manage it, right? This is so bad. It's bad right now. It's worse than Ukraine, the Ukraine war, right? This is a war zone according to you guys. Do you guys realize that I live here? The judge told them, the Department of Justice lawyers, do you realize that I live here? That I go out every single day? I'm kind of like paraphrasing at this point. But she let them know, I'm not stupid. I go out, I drive around, I'm not seeing what you guys say. Not only that, she told them, I'm getting in real time. So you're telling me that there's, the ICE building is under siege. It's like right now a war zone. Look at this. We're getting live feed from the place. Yeah, look at that. There's like 40 people and like 10 of them are dressed like dinosaurs and like frogs. And look at that. There's some people playing the guitar and some people are making music. There's a minister, there's a pastor. There was, no insurrection. There was no rebellion. And they know there's two laws that, prevent Donald Trump from using the military or the National Guard domestically. There's two laws. Probably you already know this, but if you don't, there's the Insurrection Act, and then there's also the Posse Comitatus law. There's basically, between these two laws, there's three requirements. You have to meet at least one of them. One is there has to be a rebellion. There's no rebellion. There has to be a foreign invasion. There's no foreign invasion. Or number three, there has to be a lack of control. Local authorities must have the incapacity to control the situation. It's just so violent and so big that local authorities can't handle it. That's not the case either. So Donald Trump is just because he wants to do so, because he thinks he's entitled to do whatever he wants, because he has a mandate. And all of a sudden in this country, suddenly, when Biden had an 81 million vote mandate, nobody gave a shit about the mandate. Ken Paxton, the attorney general from Texas, he sued Biden. Ken Paxton alone, Texas, sued the Biden administration over 100 times. Over 100 times, Ken Paxton alone. And wow, but why he wanted the courts interfering with Joe Biden if Joe Biden had a mandate? Like these judges, who are them to stop Biden from, forgiving student loans? Because he received an 81 million vote mandate. And apparently for MAGA, to the MAGA world right now, that's greater. It carries more value and more weight than the Constitution. They don't care what the Constitution says if it doesn't suit their narrative. If it doesn't suit the narrative, then it's like, oh, Trump has a mandate. This is what the vast majority of people in the country want. Well, maybe they wanted something when they voted for him, because right now the polls are looking really, really, really bad. Really bad. He's like 66. He has a 67% disapproval rating, and he's underwater, literally in every single category that you can think of, including immigration. Right now, it used to be one of the strong areas, and the economy too. He's doing awful when it comes to the economy. But anyway, the thing is that he hasn't met any of these conditions, and the judge told him, you have to give control back now. He told him, I'm going to give you 3 days. I think he gave him until Monday. He said, I'm giving you until Monday because probably you guys may want to appeal. So if you want to appeal, I'm not going to make it immediate because I want you to have the time to appeal. If, it's just this deference, which it sucks, but it is what it is. It's the U.S. government. So anytime it's Donald Trump, it's Donald Trump, the U.S. president, or the Department of Justice, the executive branch, it's always going to received that. This is what they call the presumption of regularity, right? The presumption of regularity means that they always assume that the government, the executive branch, it's in a normal world, it's always acting out of good faith in a normal world. But now, of course, they know that's not the case. There's no presumption of regularity anymore with the Trump administration. Actually, what judges are starting to, catch up, to what they're starting to realize is that they're seeing a clear pattern of abusing the system and lying to the judges, blatantly, lying to judges, to the point where they are even admitting they are lying in court. They're like, hey, I'm saying this. Some lawyers recently told the Department of Justice, I don't remember in which case it was, but some of the judges were telling the court that they were just passing on information they are supposed to say because that's what they got from above. Imagine that you're a lawyer leading. I think it was in the Abrego Garcia case. One of the lawyers said, like, yeah, we made a mistake, and I'm just telling you what I'm told, that I should say. One of the lawyers said some shit like that. Imagine that, telling a judge, hey, I'm not sure. I'm just saying what I'm being told that I should say. So that's number three. So you have, number one, Letitia James's second grand jury to try to re-indict her, failed, voted no. So that's 3 fails in a row. Case dismissed. Grand jury number 1 to re-indict said no. Grand jury number 2 to re-indict said no. 3 failures in a row. The Abrego Garcia's now failed attempt to keep him in custody. The judge said, no, you have to release them. Number 3, the National Guard, they told him, finally, you have to get these 300 guards out finally and give control back to Gavin Newsom. You have no legal basis to do this. And the thing is that now we have a whole body of cases. Los Angeles, California, Portland, Oregon, and in Illinois. We have judges, lower courts and appeals courts at all levels, judges appointed by Ronald Reagan, judges appointed by George W. Bush, judges appointed by Donald Trump himself, and then, of course, some appointed by Democrats. But now you have judges from both parties, judges appointed by Trump, and then by even 2 Republican presidents, all of them 100% in agreement saying Donald Trump is using the National Guard illegally. So in other words, he's committing a crime. He's using it illegally. Then, if you're breaking the law, that means that you're a criminal, right? I just saw this meme yesterday. Very interesting. It's a simple meme, but I thought it made a lot of sense. There was this meme I think it was on Facebook. It said something like, it's ironic, something like, I'm paraphrasing. It's ironic that it's more likely that you're going to find an ICE agent having, a criminal record before you find a migrant that they're arresting with a criminal record. And that's totally accurate. Let me see if I can bring here this that I just posted on Facebook. This stat, I think I got it from the New York Times. So let me go to my Facebook a quick second here and just download this graphic so I can share it with you guys precisely about this same topic. So let me do this right now. Here it is. Let me just download it. That way I can just create a quick graphic here and drop it. Sorry that it's taking a second here. It's not that long. I just didn't plan to bring this up. So, now that I remember it, I might as well. So now I have it. Now let me just create a quick page here for you guys. And now let me find the graphic here. And here's the graphic. Okay, so let me see if I can increase this to a point where you can see it. Look at this. ICE arrest data. This is from the New York Times. They just posted this, okay? I just got actually this screenshot from Instagram. ICE arrest data shows many immigrants with no criminal record. In high-profile operations, more than half of those arrested had no criminal record, and analysis show. Imagine that, more than half. And unfortunately, these people are being deported. They're being treated like if they're terrorists, extremely criminal, very violent and dangerous people. And they're not. These are your everyday people that are doing, what most immigrants do. They come here to work. They come here to support their family. Most of them actually came here legally. They used the CBP app or they requested asylum. They had open cases. And still, these people are arresting them and deporting them, mistreating them, abusing them. Man, it's just very, very unfortunate and very sad that this is going on. Yeah. So this is the third case that we're seeing right now. So there you go. Now you have 3 of them. So you have, remember, the Letitia James case. Again, a second grand jury decided not to re-indict. So Pam Bondi has the worst record ever. The worst record ever that you can think of when it comes to a DOJ attorney general. According to Glenn Kirshner, recently, Glenn Kirshner, ex-federal prosecutor, who is always on. He has his own channel, and he's one of the. Let me see. He's like a lawyer that always prosecutor is always on different networks. He used to be with MSNBC, and now I've seen him with many other networks too. But he has his own channel. It's called his channel here on YouTube is called Justice Matters. And he's always on with Brian Tyler Cohen. So he has a series with Brian Tyler Cohen on Brian Tyler Cohen's YouTube channel. It's called The Legal Breakdown. And he was saying on Brian's show that the Department of Justice in this 2025, Trump 2.0, they have a 96% losing record. 96% losing record when the Department of Justice traditionally, before Pam Bondi, used to have at least, listen to this is crazy. The Department of Justice used to have at least a 97 to 98% winning record. So it's not that they went down to 80, 85, 70. They went down completely. The winning record right now is literally 4%. Why? Because they're pursuing all these vindictive political cases. They're weaponizing what they claim Biden was doing. They're weaponizing it. They don't have a single shred of evidence. They don't have a text message. They don't have an email. They don't have a recording. They don't have a photo. They don't have shit. Anything saying that Biden gave a single order to indict anyone within Trump's orbit. Trump or within Trump's orbit. Not a single. Imagine that. It was so weaponized that freaking Merrick Garland waited 2 years. 2 years to appoint a special prosecutor, a special counsel to investigate Donald Trump because of the classified documents and because of the insurrection. Imagine that. Congress already had the January 6th committee quite fast, and they did a great job. And that's how we learn about a bunch of things. And even then, Merrick Garland was still, I don't know, scratching his balls or something, questioning if he should do it because he didn't want to look too political. He didn't want to. That's why Trump would always claim, oh, this is weaponized, weaponized, so that Merrick Garland felt intimidated that if he dared to go against an ex-president, then he was politicizing and weaponizing the Department of Justice. And he took 2 years. If he had started earlier, Donald Trump wouldn't have been president. Well, who knows? He still has the Supreme Court, but you understand what I'm saying. So the reality is that they could never find anything to say that Biden was weaponizing the Department of Justice. But now Donald Trump tells her, Pam Bondi, he posts on Truth Social saying, you have to indict these people. What are you waiting for? I'm going to send you Lindsay Halligan. She likes you a lot. These people indicted me 5 times. He was so mad when he posted that message. You know what's funny about the message that he posted on Truth Social, getting on to Pam Bondi, that he didn't know he sent it publicly. According to, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, reported this, that Donald Trump posted that message for Pam Bondi. And after that, somebody was just running. And he's like, Mr. President, you posted a message to Pam Bondi, Pam Bim Bondi. Pam Bim Bondi. I call her Pam Bim Bondi. So Pam Bim Bondi, he posted the message publicly, Mr. President. And Donald Trump, supposedly, reportedly, he just kind of like looked. Sorry, it's not even in the picture. Donald Trump supposedly looked to the guy and kind of like said, "Oh, that's all he said. Oh, he's such a dumb, person." Can you imagine Donald Trump trying to decipher how to use social media? I can assure you something too. I am sure that Donald Trump doesn't manage his social media at all. Donald Trump, the guy doesn't even use email. That's how careful Donald Trump is to not leave a trace. That's why it's been difficult to catch him many things, because he doesn't use digital stuff a lot. Very, very limited when it comes to that. But anyway, that was posted there. So you can tell that Donald Trump is literally controlling Pam Bondi, the strings. She's just a Donald Trump's puppet, and she'll say yes to everything. Yes, master. Yes, master. I remember that Dracula movie. Do you guys remember from Leslie Nielsen? Rest in peace, man. Leslie, that was one of my favorite actors of all time. He made that movie. He did the movie Dracula, comedy. And he had this guy, I think it was called something like that. It was Ramsey or Randall, something like that. And anyway, it was one of the characters. And he would just approach, I think it was Dracula at some point, say, "Hey, yes, master. Yes, master." Something like that. So that's Pam Bondi. "Yes, master. Donald Trump, tell me, your wishes are my command." Absolutely, absolutely shameful. Totally shameful. But anyway, that's 3 news that are a disaster. But that's not all of them. As if that wasn't enough, guys, the cherry on top. The cherry on top. Donald Trump, man, this guy must be mad as hell. Right now in Indiana, guys, right now, this is not a joke. This is serious. The Republican Party is going through, this whole process right now, and many Republicans are finally starting to give up on Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene is just quitting Congress in less than a month. There's reports that there may be like anywhere from 18 to 20 people quitting the House. Can you imagine that? Like 18 to 20 Republicans leaving? Mike Johnson? They're saying that it's very probable that they may even lose the majority before the midterms, like just in the next couple of months, because they are mad. Look at what happened. These people, 21, this is Indiana now, 21 Republicans in Indiana joined Democrats. Let me say this again, 21, not 3 or 4 in Congress, 21 Republicans in Indiana at the state level joined Democrats in voting against Donald Trump's gerrymandering. Woo, woo. I wanna use the siren right now. This is breaking news. 21 Republicans joined Democrats in Indiana. They were mad as hell. Mad as hell. They said that the White House was pressuring them so much that it was just unbearable. They decided they were gonna do it. This is the thing. If they had just, shut up, shut their mouth, but Donald Trump was, pressuring them, social media posts, and apparently the White House, I guess, probably, who knows, Stephen Miller, who knows, people from the White House, they said that the pressure was just unbearable. It was so bad that they saw this as an overreach. One thing is that the executive can suggest something, Donald Trump is the president. He's still the leader of his party. So it's okay if he wants to tell, like he told Texas, hey, do this. Not legal. I'm just saying that he has a right to tell his follower base and his party to do X or Y thing. But at the same time, these are state legislators. And these people said, you know what? We're not doing your bidding, Donald Trump. We don't give a shit. We're going to primary you. I'm going to primary you if you don't do this. Fuck you. Primary us. You want to primary us? Primary us. We don't give a shit. We're not going to do it because you guys this has been an overreach. And we're not going to do it. 21 Republicans, literally just like that. Just like that. And now Donald Trump is saying that they're rhinos, that they're traitors. J.D. Vance is posting the same thing, saying, if you guys are going to do the Democrats' bidding, the Democrats' dirty, work, then, there has to be a change. And now you have Don Jr. saying, if these rhinos, they want to, join Democrats and they want to do also, help the Democrats, then I'm going to be next year, like right there, campaigning against every single one of them. I hope you have enough time, Don Jr., because it seems like you're going to have to be campaigning against a lot of people. A lot of people leaving Congress, a lot of people in Indiana, a lot of people in many red states that are catching up and finally opening their eyes and realizing that Donald Trump is a freaking con man. He's a fraud. He promised this whole golden era. The golden era is here. Everything is down. Inflation is down. That's another lie. They're saying inflation is 2.5%. For instance, Caroline Levitt, yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw this exchange, but this happened in the White House in a press conference. Caroline Levitt was She received a question from her favorite reporter, her favorite journalist, Caitlin Collins from CNN. She hates Caitlin Collins so much. I love when this girl, Lisandra Vasquez. She does a Caroline Levitt impression. Have you seen Lisandra Vasquez on TikTok? So she uses the whole wig and everything. She's the makeup, all these crosses made out of a bunch of different things. She'll use bottles, she'll use boxes, she'll use all sorts of like crosses. Super exaggerated. It's just like whatever she can tape. Super funny. But the thing is that whenever she pretends she's calling Caitlin Collins, she's like, yes, Caitlin. Apparently she hates Caitlin, but this is the thing. So Caroline Levitt stated that inflation is down and averaging just 2.5%. So she said, inflation is down. When Biden left office, the official number was 3%. And that's true. There's two different ways to look at it, but it's true. The official number when Biden left office in January was a 3% inflation. And now she's saying now we're down to 2.5, so everything is trending in the right direction. But that's a lie. Why? Because when you say that inflation is down and averaging just 2.5, that figure, the 2.5, is based on a different calculation. An average of annualized monthly CPI, and she told this is based on the average CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, changes rather than the standard year-over-year CPI comparison. When she refers to the Biden inflation, look at how tricky they are, and this is why we need more people doing what I'm doing. You know, I love all the creators that are out there doing, you know, their shows combating disinformation, because this is very dishonest. It's true that Biden's inflation number leaving office in 2025 was 3%. But that Biden 3% is what it's called the standard year-over-year CPI, or Consumer Price Index comparison. It's a year-over-year, okay? But she's referring to a different calculation, which is an average of annualized, you know, monthly CPI. So the thing is that this method isn't how the Bureau, you know, of Labor Statistics is measuring things. This is not how they do things, which is what she's trying to do. She's trying to use a different calculation that tends to be lower, okay? This method isn't how the Bureau of Labor Statistics traditionally reports inflation. And this is what you have to realize and learn. And it generally yields a lower figure because it smooths short-term, month-to-month trends rather than measuring the full year price changes, right? So that's all you have to know. There's two different ways to calculate this. And Caroline Levitt is using the one that yields lower numbers, which is not the official one used by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But then she wants to use the one from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is higher for Biden. That way, people don't know. People don't pay attention. People don't have time. And especially their base, the Republican MAGA base, they don't even give a shit. You know, Trump says it's 2.5. Caroline Levitt says 2.5. That's what I'm going to share on social media. Biden's inflation was 3%. Donald Trump says 3%. I'm glad that Caitlin Collins, and there was a second, another reporter, journalist, I think it was from CBS, that also insisted, hey, following up on what Caitlin Collins said, inflation as of September, which is the last report that we have from the Bureau, it was 3% for Donald Trump too. So it's not trending like she's saying in the right direction. It's still 3%. In September, remember October, they're not releasing inflation data. They're not releasing employment data. Why? Because of course it's not good. If it was good, they would not be hiding it. Donald Trump would move, whatever he had to move. He would pressure whatever he'd had to pressure. If Donald Trump knew that just by making a little bit more effort and doing whatever they had to do, they could get to a very good report, do you think Donald Trump wouldn't do that? They put 1,000 freaking FBI employees to find Donald Trump's name 7 days a week, 24 hours per day, to find and redact Donald Trump's name in the Epstein files. You think he wouldn't do the same thing? Yeah, let's work for a full week trying to compile all these numbers. I know the government was, shut down, but, let's try to put it together. And that way we can give this report because it's a great report. People should know. No. We're not releasing the report. We know why. ADP already reported that even in November, they lost 32,000 jobs. And we know it was the same thing in October. And we know that it's not looking good. Right now, as of now, in 10 months, Donald Trump has lost 1.1 million jobs. And then actually there's some new reporting saying that it's already at least 1.2 million jobs. What a coincidence. Joe Biden created 16 million jobs. And you hear Republicans saying, especially MAGA, it's like, oh, those were the pre-pandemic jobs. No, Donald Trump left office losing 3 million jobs. Donald Trump lost 3 million jobs. He's the worst jobs president since Hoover. And now they want to say that those jobs that Biden created are the bounce back jobs, right? He lost 3 million. Well, if you told me Biden created only 3 to 4 million jobs, I would say, you know what? That's kind of reasonable. I agree. Part of those could have been just a recovery. But Biden created almost 16 million. Biden didn't have a single month since he came in back to office, not a single month with a negative number in job creation. Not a single month in 4 years. Donald Trump already came in, and I believe it's been almost every single month, if not at least all of them, and just maybe one, maybe they didn't have a negative number. 1.1 million. He's trending. Literally, he's trending for the same average he had with a pandemic. Now there's no pandemic, zero pandemic, and he's still, this MF still has managed to lose 1.2 million jobs. What a disaster, but it's falling apart. 21 Republicans, think about that. 21 Republicans joining Democrats to vote against Donald Trump's gerrymandering, desperate move to try to keep control of the House because they know what's coming. It's the mega, ultra, super duper blue wave tsunami. We saw it on November, 4th, the 5th. It was a bloodbath. But what was the excuse? Oh, that was just, battleground states. That was not red states. Those were expected wins. Nothing to see here. Nothing special. Even though that's not true. They flipped seats in Georgia and, some others. But anyway, and they, flipped, where was it? Was it Virginia? Did they flip a red, was it a mayor or governor? I don't even remember. Anyway, the thing is that was the excuse. Oh, it wasn't red states. Okay. Miami-Dade. Miami. They literally just unseated. They literally just flipped 3 days ago. They literally flipped in Miami city, Miami-Dade. They flipped a seat that this was a mayor position. And the mayor position was held by Republicans for 30 years in ruby red Miami-Dade, a ruby red city, a ruby red state, Florida. A stronghold for Republicans for 30 years. Donald Trump won that city in 2024 by 12 points. And now this woman, they lost to a woman to top it off, man. It couldn't get any better than that. They lost to a woman. So now all of a sudden it's DEI and it went woke. It went DEI and it went woke. Man, that's epic. It's just like poetic justice. But anyway, they lost by 19 points. Not even neck to neck. Not even close. 19 effing points. You know how you know it's bad? I don't think there's anyone who I consider to be more of a, I'm not sure if this is I think it's this kind of pronounced, bear with me. Is it a buffoon, right? A buffoon. You guys kind of like a clown, somebody you really don't respect at all because all they say, is just stupid stuff or whatever. That's Jesse Waters to me from Fox News. And even Jesse Waters of all mega, influencers and reporters and journalists or, whatever hosts, because he's not even a journalist. Jesse Waters and Sean Hannity, go and check. I just read it this morning. Sean Hannity and Jesse Waters both were saying, we're fucked. We're losing the House next year. There's no way. I'm paraphrasing. Go and listen to what they said. They are admitting Republicans are losing the House. There's no way that losing a stronghold in Miami, a city in Miami-Dade, by 19 points after what we saw in November, now you have a clear pattern. So that's the disaster. It's collapsing right now. And then add to that all these Republicans are leaving Trump. They're finally growing a spine. They're realizing it's, we're on the ballot. Many of us are on the ballot next year. And if we don't stand up to this criminality and all these abuses and so on, they know it. They're in deep shit. So anyway, that's the 4 news. Recap, if you just joined, there's 4 disastrous news in the past day and a half for Donald Trump. And number 1, Letitia James, who they indicted politically so far because they haven't produced any evidence so far. And even Fannie Mae investigated independently Letitia James' loan and concluded there was no evidence. Fannie Mae concluded on its own independent investigation the same thing the career Republican appointed U.S. attorney. U.S. attorney for Virginia. That U.S. attorney named by Donald Trump, Eric Siebert. Fannie Mae concluded the same thing that the original U.S. attorney concluded, that there was no evidence to indict James Comey or Letitia James. But anyway, so they failed. The case was dismissed. They impaneled grand jury number 1. After the case dismissal said, no, we're not re-indicting her. Grand jury number 2 said, no, we're not re-indicting her. A second grand jury just yesterday said, we're not re-indicting Letitia James. Another judge ordered to release Abrego Garcia. Another judge ordered to give National Guard control back to Gavin Newsom. And then 21, if it wasn't enough, 21 Republicans are voting with Democrats to stop Trump's gerrymandering. I'm going to tell you something. Donald Trump is fucked when it comes to gerrymandering. This is going to backfire so badly because they got 5 seats in Texas. And they went all the way to the Supreme Court. A court in Texas determined it was illegal, but they went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And, Trump's baby, what does the baby want? Oh, you want 5 seats? Yeah, we giving you 5 seats, Trumpito. And they decided that, it wasn't illegal, even though it's illegal. But, whatever the Supreme Court says, it's whatever stands. And now it's not illegal. But that means that now they also won't be able to use any legal argument against California. California did it the right way. They did a referendum. They allowed people to vote. People voted and said, we want to react to Texas. Low blow, mid-cycle, caving to Donald Trump. So yes, let's do this. The people voted in California. People could. It was risky. It was risky because if you do a referendum like that, you do an event like that to vote for people to vote. People could have voted no. And believe me, Republicans tried. They put millions when it came to campaigns trying to convince people not vote, and it was a bloodbath. People were we're doing this shit. And now they're actually going to get way more. They're saying they're going to get probably way more than 5 seats. But then now they were counting, we can do Indiana. Indiana just said, you want more seats? Here you go. I think they were expecting to take away. Indiana has 2 Democrat districts right now, 2 Democrats holding those positions. They wanted to take away those 2, 5 in Texas, 2 in Indiana. Now they're down to just the 5 in Texas, which are not only neutralized, probably quashed by California, which probably will get more than 5. And remember, that's also putting a lot of Republicans, in a very tough spot because those districts that they're going to take away, those 5 seats right now are held by Republicans who are saying, what the hell are you doing? You're destroying my career right now because now, just because you want to do this, just because you want to, keep control of the House, knowing that people are going to vote against you because you have fucked up, so badly. Now you want to screw me? I'm going to lose, my district? A lot of Republicans aren't really mad about this whole shit. And now they're not getting in Indiana. And who knows how it's going to pan out in the next couple of ones that they want to do. But then now we have Wes Moore saying that he's ready. We have Hochul in New York, Hochul saying that she's willing to try to do whatever needs to be done to work with the Constitution or whatever amendment, kind of like the same thing that California did. We have J.B. Pritzker saying that he's willing to do the same thing. Guys, this is going to get interesting. And I'm going to tell you, it's, Donald Trump, he's doing everything he can to try to, to stay in power, to try to suppress vote, to gerrymander the shit out of every single red state. We know he knows that he can't win based on policy because no promise that he makes right now is going to stand. People are not going to believe him. Bro, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, man, I'm a fucking idiot, right? So there's no way this is going to happen. Donald Trump has fooled people twice, and now it's actually shame on MAGA for believing him, shame on Republicans for voting for him, but at least now they're realizing he's just a scam. He's a fraud. He's a fraudster, and he's not delivering. He's great, again, he's great delivering narratives, selling dreams, the art of the deal. Oh, my God, yeah. But when it comes to delivering, he promised, this list. I laugh because Brian, by the way, I work with Brian Tyler Cohen on his Spanish channel. Brian Tyler Cohen launched a Spanish channel. It's called Brian Tyler Cohen Español. I'm in charge of that Spanish division, and I help them publish every single day 3 to 4 episodes that we dub and we translate for you guys. So if any of you guys speak Spanish and you prefer to listen to this type of content in Spanish, please go to Brian Tyler Cohen Espanol or go to my channel in Espanol, which is my main channel. That's, the channel where I'm doing most of my episodes. And it's very, very, it's very good. It's going good. It's growing a lot. And now I decided to share some of that information here. But anyway, Brian has this whole list of things. Whenever he's doing his show, he has kind of like this fixed paragraph that he goes, well, Donald Trump promised this, and then it didn't happen. He promised this, it didn't happen. He has a list of like 20 things. But, off the top of my head, I know he promised, a replacement healthcare plan for Obamacare. What, like 11 years ago, since 2015? 2015, Donald Trump started promising a replacement for Obamacare. It's been only 11 years. Why should we pressure him? Let the guy get it together. We know it's not too easy for him as of now. This guy is falling apart in front of us, in front of the cameras. I think they're using tape to hold them together. Pieces of this body are falling off every single morning, and they stitch it somehow. Yeah, you think they take the suit. You take the suit off, you're gonna find that he has stitches everywhere because they're trying to hold him together. The guy's literally falling apart. So we have to give him a break. Give him a break. There's no need to rush Donald Trump into finally presenting the concepts of a plan he told us during the debate he had from 11 years ago, right? Who can develop a plan in 11 years, right? Of course, Obama won, and he was able to come up with Obamacare fairly fast. And even Republicans, some of them right now are saying that, okay, I may not like it, but it's better than what we don't have to replace it. So it is what it is. But anyway, he promised that healthcare, it never happened. He promised to completely revive and rescue the whole manufacturing sector. It didn't happen. He actually left losing 200,000 jobs. He promised to bring a boom, when it came to jobs. He left losing 3 million jobs. This guy promised the new era, the golden era back then. It didn't happen. And now the same thing is happening. Inflation is still high. He said gas prices were $2. Somebody told me, yeah, at the pedo at the pedo gas station in Mar-a-Lago. Somebody told me in my Spanish channel. It was I guess at the pedo gas station. That's where you can get the gallons. You can get the gallon at $2 after you go in and offer a special massage for maybe one of Trump's spa customers. But anyway, the gas prices are still not where they need to be. Of course, during the pandemic for Biden, it was higher, but eventually it got better. Remember, that's when the whole world war exploded, plus the pandemic, and we had supply chains problems and a bunch of stuff. Now, I'm not making any excuses. They should have tackled Biden and Kamala Harris. They should have tackled, precisely the gas prices and grocery prices. And even though everything else, every single metric, signaled that we had a great economy, which was the envy of the world, the strongest economy, the fastest recovery out of every G7 nation or developed nation after the pandemic. Biden did a great job overall, and I don't care if you don't care about that. If you think I'm crazy, I don't care. That's why people are literally, just rushing and flocking, to vote for Democrats right now, because Donald Trump promised them the world, and the golden era is here. And now, coincidentally, we have Fox News starting to talk about austerity. We had this, what's her name? DeAngelis. I think it's Jackie DeAngelis. I know her last name is DeAngelis. DeAngelis from the big money show from Fox Business. And she was saying, we have to start talking about austerity because nobody wants to talk about austerity. Politicians on both sides, they feel afraid that you can't take, things away from people. But people have to know that they're using credit cards. There's an Investopedia report saying that 26% of people are just exploding, their credit cards. You're not entitled to have things. She was saying, you're not entitled to have things. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're telling me that I have to start talking about austerity right now when Donald Trump tells me that we're in heaven? Like Brian Tyler, what's his name? Brian Adams would sing. Remember the heaven song? We're in heaven. We're in heaven. We're supposed to be in heaven. This is the golden era. Everything is so low, so low. Groceries are so cheap. The Thanksgiving meal, so cheap. Of course, it had a bunch of items, less, plus even smaller items or a slightly different list of items. But yeah, everything is great. I'm supposed to be saving right now as of now compared to the Biden era. I should be keeping maybe $1,500 to $1,000 a month in my pocket because according to Donald Trump, everything is, I don't know, I guess almost like 80s level or 90s levels when it comes to, inflation, which is not true. But that is what he is saying right now. And unfortunately, it's just not happening. And this is something that even some Republicans are saying right now. And Brian Tyler Cohen said this on his show recently. He said, this is the mistake that we made. We thought that, we have a narrative like, jobs are great, markets are at all-time highs, unemployment at all-time lows, black unemployment, all-time lows. And, we had all these metrics. And we thought we had the game. We have the game. We have all the metrics. We have the fastest recovery, the fastest recovery for inflation after the pandemic, all these things. We lost. We lost to a convicted felon who was already found liable for sexual abuse, for defamation, for aggression, for fraud, for criminal tax evasion. The Trump organization, a lot of people didn't even pay attention to that case. January 2023, they found the Trump administration guilty of like around 15 counts of criminal tax evasion. And this is aside from the fraud cases that Letitia James brought forward. And aside from the Stormy Daniels case, this is the Trump organization alone. That's a completely separate case. That was a criminal case. His CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Alan Weisselberg, went to prison for that twice because then he promised to cooperate. And he got 5 months because he pled guilty and he promised to cooperate to, cooking the books. He pled guilty cooking the books and doing all these things to help, the Trump organization break the law. They had two sets. They're so stupid. They had two sets of, spreadsheets or books, accounting books in the same computer. They had the set of books that they present the government, like saying, things are so bad. We're about to file bankruptcy. We can't pay any taxes because, we're not making money. And then they had the other real accounting books on the same computer with all the real transactions and all the real things that they were doing behind the scenes, behind the curtains. They were literally paying like a bunch of bonuses, paying apartments, tuitions, cars, all these things that were unreported. So the people receiving the benefits were not reporting it, and the Trump administration was not reporting it either because they were managing this whole, underground economy in the Trump organization. That was like 14 counts of criminal tax fraud. So people knew that was it. And we still lost to that guy. We still lost to a convicted felon. That bad, the disconnection, it was that bad. The level of disconnection of Democrats between what we thought was going on, and what was really going on, people not feeling it. So you can say whatever you want. You can preach, you can lie, you can try to manipulate people. People know how much they pay at the pump. People know that money's just not enough. People know right now, what are we going to do with healthcare? They know, they're looking at these numbers. They're looking at the new letters they're getting, all these new quotes. Hey, I got a quote from, the healthcare, and it's going to be $1,500, $2,000 more per month, plus my out-of-pocket. Yearly is increasing too from like $5,000 to $10,000, $12,000 or more. It's a lot of money. People know that. I'm not going to be able to afford that. Or some people are already just deciding that they're not going to have healthcare just because they can. And they know. I know it. When we go to the grocery store here in Texas, we go to HEB, and there's like, what? This was $90? Just like three or four bags with just a handful of items. $90, you know it. And then you know it when you're checking for new home prices or rentals are not going down, and you keep seeing the same shit, corporate greed, price gouging, all these sorts of things. And Donald Trump's not doing anything to deal with those things. Anything at all. But anyway, guys, I have to go. I just wanted to bring you those 4 disastrous things that are just going on. And believe me, there's we could talk for days. When it comes to the Trump administration, there's so much crime, so much corruption. We could talk about the pardons. We could talk about the killings in the Caribbean because, but look at how stupid this is. This is how stupid they think you are. Because I know I'm not. But this is how stupid you, Trump supporter, this is how stupid they think you are. They're like, we're just trying to protect Americans from these narco, terrorists, whatever, these drug dealers from Venezuela. And that's why we're killing them, because you know how many people they kill in the United States with drugs every single year? It's like hundreds of thousands of people, lives that we're losing right now. We don't want Americans to die because of drugs, because we're the pro-life party. Amen. Jesus, we love you. Praise the Lord. Pro-life. But then they kick 16 million people off Medicaid. They kick 5 million people off SNAP. They kick 3 million people off Medicare. They are taking subsidies away, the ACA, Obamacare subsidies away from 25 million people. And we already have official estimates from reputable colleges estimating we're going to lose 50,000 lives. So I guess, as long as people are dying from overdoses, cocaine or fentanyl supposedly coming from Venezuela, which is not coming from Venezuela, but that's what they say. If the deaths are related to fentanyl and cocaine, especially coming from Venezuela, the government we want to overthrow so we can, steal all their oil. Yeah, we care about life so much. Hey, but we have all these people in here dying because, they're going to die because of healthcare. Let's extend the ACA. No. We don't care about that. We don't care about people dying here because of healthcare. If it's drug related, of course we care about that. Especially drug coming, from Venezuela, because we had Juan Orlando Hernandez, Honduras ex-president. And me, Donald Trump, I decided I'm going to pardon the guy. He trafficked 500 tons of cocaine. 500 tons of cocaine into the USA. And if you're not, let me repeat that, tons, not kilos, 500 fucking tons. I Googled this shit. I'm like, is this real? Some reports say 400 tons. And I'm like, that's a shitload. That's a lot of freaking cocaine. And then the New York Times reported that it was actually 500 tons. I'm like, holy shit. Do you know? And then I calculated the weight and I started checking. I'm like, hey, Gemini. I asked Gemini and I even asked ChatGPT to check. They both came up with figures. I'm like, give me a visual representation. If these tons of cocaines were measured in elephant sizes, how many elephants would we need to actually, make the 500 tons? And both ChatGPT and Gemini said that it's close to between 76 and 81 full-size elephants. So imagine a freaking line of like 76 to 81 full elephants. If you go to a circus, sometimes they'll have 2 or 3, and you're like, holy shit, these animals are massive. Now imagine 80 of them in a line. That's how much freaking cocaine Juan Orlando Hernandez brought into the USA, and Donald Trump pardoned that motherfucker. And he also pardoned CC, the Binance platform founder, and CC donated or did some $2 billion business deal with Donald Trump's sons. $2 billion, approximately. That's a lot of money, and he got a pardon. And this guy allowed on Binance. Do you guys know why he got arrested and why he got sentenced to? He was allowing, he knew they were using Binance to finance trafficking, infant sexual exploitation, drugs money, and terrorism money. All that money was flowing to finance these types of crimes, including drugs, including child sexual exploitation, including human trafficking. And this guy didn't give a shit because he was making loads of money, millions of dollars, billions actually. And Donald Trump said, you know what? We're so against drugs and people, we're so against terrorism, like Abrego Garcia. We're so against, brainwashing our kids and grooming. That's the word. The word I'm looking for. We're so against grooming our kids. But yeah, I'm going to pardon this motherfucker who helped finance all of these crimes together in his platform. Same with Orlando. Guys, it doesn't hold up. You have to be consistent. You have to be freaking consistent. If not, you're a complete hypocrite. Just say that you want to support Donald Trump, regardless of if he is a criminal or not, or if he's consistent or not. You just like the guy and you like being in power, and you don't care if he's consistent or not, if he stands behind the principles that he claims, if he stands behind the claim that he supposedly believes in Jesus. You don't care about none of that shit. And neither does Donald Trump. So you have to be a special kind of stupid to believe that Donald Trump is really killing these people in the Caribbean, supposedly to stop the drugs because, they're so concerned about the deaths here in the United States. Yeah, of course they are. This is why they want 50,000 people to start dying because of healthcare. It's crazy, guys. Anyway, again, this is the Aranzamendi podcast. My name is Daniel Aranzamendi. Please follow my Spanish channel, even if you don't speak Spanish. If you like my content, it's the first time here if listening to my podcast, just do it to contribute to the cause. Just subscribe. It's Aranzamendi Podcast Español. And then also, please follow Brian Tyler Cohen Español, okay? Remember, I'm helping Brian. It's been almost 3 years now working on that project. It's doing great. That project is also growing a lot. It has great content. So if you have any Hispanic friends, family members, co-workers, please send them to Brian Tyler Cohen Español and Aranzamendi Podcast Español. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know. There's a lot of comments. Let me read. This is one of the first times I'm actually doing like this short format, and there's a bunch of comments. Man, there's holy shit. 14. No, man. No, I'm not going to be able to get to this. Let me just say hi to a couple of people quickly. Hi, Janita. Thank you for being here. She says, good morning, Daniel. Mike has, it's all Trump. They never would have been a MAGA without him, and the world would have been so screwed up without him. Okay, who else we have here? Jim Wilder says, Trump, a MAGA king forever. That's your king? You're full of shit. Okay. You do you, man. If you like defending convicted felons and people who pardon drug dealers, drug traffickers, cartel, associates, whatever, hey, you do you. You're fine with that. You're good. I'm gonna pass. That's a hard pass for me. What else we have here? Trump rules. Okay, if you say so. Guys, this is too many comments right now. I promise I'll go and I'll reply. I always do. I take my time and then I'll go and I'll start replying. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, just leave all the insults. I already see a bunch of insults in the chat section. That's amazing because the moment you come in and you start commenting and leaving insults for a libtard, for a Marxist, whatever you want to say. That's great because you're helping the algorithm show this stream to more people like you. And that means that my channel is going to grow more just because you can't help but just, try to attack me and insult me and whatever. That's fine. It's just engagement. You're actually helping me. So thank you for helping this libtard. I love it. I love it when Trumpers, they just can't. You know what? What I never do? I see all these live, Trump and right-wing content creators. I never, not even by mistake, will go into any of their podcasts. Because the moment I click, then YouTube, of course, the algorithm is going to interpret that I'm interested. It's going to show me more of that content. I want to see less of that content. And if I do that, it's going to show the same content to people like me with my same profile and ideals and channels I follow. And I don't want to help them at all. So I don't care. I don't care to go in and go into the chat and, oh, you're such a stupid person. You're such a moron. Oh, you're such a this and such a that. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. But you guys are, helping me out. So, hey, let me give them a round of applause for the MAGA crowd. They're out here in the chat section right now, man. They're all fired up. But I don't know, you're getting all fired up at me. Go and check what's going on with Trump because Republicans are giving up on him. That has nothing to do with me, okay? Nothing to do with me. Anyway, take care, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.